These are like actual problems. This isn't okay. Wikipedia says it's part of the Arrowverse. Ice Vision seems so wrong to me. I mean, I watched 3 seasons of Supergirl for when,
like
so...
a bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here.
Welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. Today, this one is actually very long overdue. I should have done this one several months ago, but it didn't happen, and so now I'll be going off of memory, and which is not as good as it was a couple months ago. Sorry for that in advance, but we are going to be talking about Superman and Lois. I love this show. I really do love this show. It's so good. It's like my favorite Superman project, I think. I love it. I really, really love it. Just the family dynamic. There's gonna be a lot of ranting about the family dynamic in the show. It was so good. I love how they interacted. I love that there were actual issues that they had to resolve, and that despite those issues, they still helped each other out. And these were serious issues. These were not just, oh, he stole my shirt or something, and now I'm mad at him, and then it's resolved in an episode. No, these are actual problems. And they actually had to work to resolve it. And they actually had to work to rebuild trust. And I love it. I really, really like it. It's so good. It's so freaking good. And of all the shows that are, I actually don't know if you technically call this one the Arrowverse or not, because it's technically in a universe after Crisis. And so I don't know if that technically counts as Arrowverse or not. I don't remember the actor's name. But the Superman actor shows up in the Arrowverse, and it's the same guy. And Lois Lane's actor is the same, so it's all the same characters, but it's also post-Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I'm going to say it's not technically part of the Arrowverse. Technically speaking, because it happens after Crisis, and the Arrowverse kind of wraps up after Crisis. So yeah, we'll say it's not technically Arrowverse. But it's made by CW. It's probably the best of the CW DC shows. It stays, of course, it's also not running into its 8th season or something, which is part of the reason that the other shows got bad. I think most of them were at least decent for the first 3 seasons. And then they started to derail, and they would be good, but not necessarily great for the next 2 seasons or something like that. And then by the 6th or 7th season, it was just off the rails and weird. For the most part, Arrow did a pretty good job. But yeah, maybe it's partially because it's only the first 3 seasons of it that it's doing good. And I almost hope that it just ends. As much as I love the show and love the story of the show, would love more new content from it, I also don't want them to drag it out and keep going with it and drag it on to get money and whatever else and make it bad. Which it sounds like probably not, just because I think they had to pick between Gotham Knights, which from what I heard is literally the worst show they've ever created, and Superman and Lois. I don't remember if I heard which one they picked. Hopefully, if they were actually thinking, it'd be Superman and Lois. But I also heard that if it was, there'd be actors leaving or something. And the actor for I'm not even gonna remember the twins' names, am I? This is horrible. I'm gonna look it up. This is not even this isn't okay.
I'm just sitting here.
John!
I got time. It's clear to see.
Oh man. And of course it doesn't
The world seems
give the
small.
other twins' name.
We can sit
I'm so disappointed with myself that I cannot remember their freaking names. Wikipedia says it's part of the Arrowverse,
in the great outdoors,
but you know,
forever free.
I don't know about that. Jonathan and Jordan. Ah. Guys, I'm so disappointed that I forgot their names were Jonathan and Jordan.
Take a step back.
Anyway, that's gonna be heavily edited. Sorry, guys. I'm such a failure. I can't even remember the main character's name. So yes, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I was talking about the changes that would happen. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Jonathan's original actor, the Jordan whatever, left after season 2. It sounded like for good reasons. Power to him. It was something with mental health, I think. But anyway, he left after season 2. And so for season 3, they had a replacement. It was fine. It did well. He actually did kind of look like the original actor. But at the same time, and honestly playing the character similar to how the OG guy played it, which was very impressive, and I appreciated that. So he's not incapable of doing it, but I did kind of miss the OG actor, and it sounded like other bigger actors would be, or bigger actors would be leaving as well. So I really don't know how,
Like a bird on a
like important characters. I don't remember who they were, but it was like important people were. The actors were just kind of out, and I don't know how they would pull it off without some of those characters. Not that they couldn't, but at the same time, that there would have to be quite a bit of explaining happening on why certain characters weren't there, because you can't recast all of them. They got pretty lucky with Jonathan's replacement, and he pretty much got it spot on. Was pretty similar in looks, so like it wasn't the most jarring thing on the planet. But yeah, you can't get that lucky every time you recast a character, and with, I feel like there were like 3 to 5 people I heard about. I don't know how you wouldn't get lucky that many times in a row. So I don't actually know if there's going to be season 4. It seemed pretty iffy. If there is, though, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, because if you have characters leaving, it tends to be they would either recast, which doesn't go well all the time, and they have to know that, so more than likely they bring in new characters. And I feel like a lot of the CW Arrowverse shows, they kind of, I rarely liked all the new characters that they brought in. Like the new team of characters always seemed not as good to me as compared to the originals. Like in The Flash, we lost Cisco, we sort of lost Caitlin, the first like 2 Wells that we had with Thawne, obviously it was great, but with Harry, he was replaced by different versions of Thawne or whatever, Wells, and it was just never as into the characters as I was with the originals. And when the new Arrow team showed up with Dinah and the other two, I don't even remember their names. I wasn't the biggest fan of them either, as compared to the OG team with Oliver and Dig and
like a bird
Sarah or Laurel and the OG teams were always the best. I exclusively watched Supergirl for Win. That is the only reason I made it 3 seasons into the show. And then he went to the future, and I started episode 1 of season 4. I got maybe a third of the way into it and went, no. And I stopped watching it, and I haven't had any desire to start watching it again, because I don't give a crap about anything that's happening now. Because they took Win. And Win was the only character worth watching that show for. Mon-El was pretty good. But they took both of them. They took Win and Mon-El, and those were the only characters I was really watching the show for. So, no more Supergirl. I never finished Supergirl. So yeah, like the OG characters are really the ones that I get hooked on, and the ones I start rooting for, and the ones that I want to see and carry on throughout the series. And so if they're losing actors for some of these OG characters, then that will lead them to either recast, which probably won't end well, or bring in new characters, which will probably end even worse. Actually, I don't know. Because new characters, they're just characters you don't like. But recasting an OG character and them not being played well by the new actor is probably worse, actually. That's probably worse. If Secrets of Dumbledore is anything to go on for a bad recasting and the results of that, it'd probably be worse than just new characters. Okay. Moving past that, because I have a sinking feeling that it probably isn't going to happen, and I'm okay with that. It's totally fine if this ends on season 3. It's a solid 3-season show, and there wasn't like any huge cliffhanger or anything that required a 4th season, unless there was, and I'm just having a horrible memory. But there wasn't, from what I remember. No, because they made the new. Yeah, they made the new Fortress of Solitude in the ocean? Or am I just going nuts? Or was that the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3? I don't know, but I don't remember a massive cliffhanger. It had a fairly solid ending, and it could have just ended. So if it does, I'm not going to be mad. Especially with some of the things that I've heard potentially happening if a season 4 happens, and the people they wouldn't have and whatever else, and it sounded like if it happens, the budget would be smaller, and I'm just like, CW shows already don't have great CGI. Let's not cut the budget. Although, comparatively, Superman and Lois did a lot better in the CGI department than, like, Supergirl and the later seasons of Flash. I mean, Arrow didn't have a whole lot. It definitely had a few scenes where it did have CGI be super cringe, but it didn't have as much CGI, which was great, because then you didn't have all the cringe, because the Flash, oh my gosh. It was okay at the beginning. Like I said, the first 3 seasons of all the shows were actually pretty good, but by the later seasons of the Flash, it was bad. So, by comparison, Superman and Lois did a very good job with the CGI. I appreciate that. Especially with flying, because the CGI for Supergirl flying in the show was not quite as bad as just the overall CGI for the Flash shows in the later seasons, but not great. So, I think they definitely did that better in Superman and Lois than they did in Supergirl, which is good, because you have Superman and Jordan both flying, which there was more than one flying character in Supergirl too, so it's really not an excuse for how bad it looked sometimes. But anyway, yes, the CGI was a lot better in this one, and the story. This was definitely, I think, more of a character-driven storyline than any of the other shows were. And I loved it because we're focusing on their family and their interactions and their dynamic and how they deal with these issues, because the first episode is Clark's mom passes away and they end up taking over the farm. And so they move to Smallville and they move out of the city and they have to move away from schools and all of that. And so there's this huge upheaval. And so a lot of that first season is focusing on that and how they deal with that and how they go with that. They do have like the plot happening with Morgan Edge / Talbro, whatever. And they have that plot happening, but it almost, they balance them pretty well, but I feel like the more important side of it goes to the character-driven side of the story, which is very, very good and very cool, and I really like it and appreciate it. So that's wonderful. So the character work in the show is definitely great, at least for the main family, and honestly for the side characters too, like I don't remember their last name, like Sarah and her family. I don't remember their last name off the top of my head. But anyway, because they're probably like the main side characters. That sounds like an oxymoron. Oxymoron. I can't speak. I'm a moron. But they're the most prevalent and recurring side characters. A lot of the other ones are like there for an episode and gone. They don't get a name. They maybe show up once or twice throughout the season. But then Sarah and her family show up consistently and get their own development and their own family dynamics, and we get to see some things from their perspective. And so they get a lot of good character work as well. So yeah, the character work in the show was wonderful. Because then later we get John Henry Irons and his daughter, and they get character work as well, and they get a dynamic because we have, that fun things. My gosh, there are so many things that are happening, and I'm going on memory, and my memory's not great because it's been like 6 months since I watched this show. And that was just the third season. It's been even longer since I watched the first and second season because I watched them and caught up and then had to wait for season 3. So I'm going entirely off memory, and it's like there's too much information in my brain. It's in there somewhere. I just don't know where.
I'm just sitting here.
But yes, the character work was fantastic. The storylines were actually very good. We have Morgan Edge, who is a different version of Morgan Edge, because I know he shows up in, was it season 3 of Supergirl, I think he shows up? And this is a different version because, Crisis and whatever else. So different Morgan Edge, and he's like monopolizing the town essentially, and he's buying everything, and so he has land and the power and everything. And then we have Lois, who has this personal vendetta against him because he's not a great guy, but she can't prove it, trying to get the evidence she needs to bring him down and help Smallville and everyone. And so we have him with his approval ratings being like way up here, and then we have the newcomer Lois Lane trying to bring him down and convince everyone that no, he's not actually a great guy. And then eventually at the end having it revealed that he's actually one of the last Kryptonians alive, and he's Clark's half-brother. Yeah, Clark's half-brother. And then he came to Earth when Krypton was destroyed as well, but he had a very different experience when he landed. And so has a hard father who raised him to be a hard person, and then comes to Earth and is found by the government instead of like a family who it wouldn't freak out. Also, all the government. But so him having this very different introduction to Earth and going, oh, they suck. that I need to destroy them in order to have a chance of bringing back Krypton. And so having that, and then after that reveal, having Clark also struggle with a little, not much, but just like having that realization of, I'm not the last one, I could bring them back. And then the realization, no, that would require me to wipe out Earth. And as much as having people like me who would understand me, as great as that would be, Krypton was never actually my home. And so him fighting for Earth in Taro, not understanding where he's coming from, and not understanding why he would fight against his own kind to protect Earth. And then we have him essentially possessing people with the spirits of the minds, I guess, of Kryptonians, which is an interesting thing happening. So they just have people blacking out and doing things, then eventually getting to the point where they're totally controlled. And so then they have all the Kryptonian powers, but it's just all the people of Smallville, and then having to stop that. And then season 2 is a little bit weird. It's because it's hooking to the Bizarro world, and so like the reverse everything. So Kryptonite is like his strength, and I don't remember what his weakness is. But like Kryptonite gives him strength, and things are reversed, and he has like ice vision and fire breath. Which ice vision, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but ice vision seems so wrong to me. Like, ice breath, sure, whatever. Heat vision, yeah, that makes sense. Fire breath, that makes sense. But ice vision? Am I the only one that just thinks that seems so wrong? Like, you can wrap your head around, like, heat vision and flying and, like, breathe ice breath, but, like, ice vision? It seems so wrong in my head. Maybe that's just me, but it seems so wrong. But yeah, it's interesting with the Bizarro side of it. The weirdest part is we have whatever the main villain lady or whatever is, sort of leads a cult that Lois' sister is involved in, and that aspect of it is a little bit weird. Just the whole, which, I mean, it's unnerving. It's mostly unnerving, which is kind of the point because she's like straight up leading a cult. It's creepy. But yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a little unnerving and creepy and weird, and, which is the point. They did it well. It's just strange. Yeah, plot-wise, season 2 might have my least favorite, like, plot happening. I still love the concept of the Bizarro world and all the things that happen, because, like, character work and whatever else. And we have John Henry Irons and his daughter adjusting to the real world, and John initially going, we need to get as far away from Lois and Clark as possible, because in his universe, on his world, Lois is his wife. And so weird, awkward things happening. And so having them adjust and go, no, we know them, they're friends. They are some of the only people who actually know where we came from and what we're going through. And so eventually going back to Smallville and building that relationship and kind of overcoming this really awkward, really weird situation. It's cool to kind of see how Lois and John's daughter, I can't remember her, Natalie. Yes, Natalie. How Lois and Natalie's relationship kind of shifts and changes and develops as Natalie comes to a point where she accepts, this is not my mother, she looks like my mother, she acts like my mother, but this is not my mother. And getting to that point and yeah, accepting that and developing their relationship in a different way. And her interacting, having a similar like relationship development between her and Lois's dad, who is also a very good character and gets development and is fun to have around. But having their relationship develop as well, and her growing closer to the twins and kind of creating a sibling relationship with them. And it's great to watch them grow and develop their relationship until they're basically just one big family. Very weirdly connected family. And so that's really, really fun to see as well. Just like the character work and the relationship dynamics and development and everything that goes on with the interactions between these characters in the show was incredible. They definitely focused on these characters and making them believable and making them well-written characters, and I very much appreciated that, because you can have a wonderful plot for a show, but if you do not flesh out the characters and you don't make them believable and you don't make them interact in a way that is realistic and develops in a, I don't know, develops in a real, relatable way, and if they're not something that people can relate to or get behind, the characters can very much ruin this perfectly good plot that you have. So that's really the challenge for people creating stories is, okay, I have this great plot idea, but they don't necessarily have the characters to go behind it. So they have to spend time to create the characters, or it's like, I have this character in mind. I know everything about this character, but we don't have a story to put them into. And so, especially with shows, I feel that's the great part of having an entire crew on a show or a movie is you have the people with the different pieces of the story, and so you bring them together and you collaborate and you create something that's great. I love storytellers in every form, and it's just, I appreciate them, and the amazing work that they do, because honestly, I use stories kind of as an escape and a way of expressing myself. The things I write, that's how I express myself, how I write, how I get things out there, and then all these stories I tell are like pieces of me and things that I'm going through, and all of this, and it's just a wonderful way for me to get out what's in my head, these things that are very, very hard for me to vocalize or actually explain, and in some cases even understand. And then all these things that I read, these things that I watch, it's very much an escape for me. Not that I have a wonderful family. I have a wonderful situation that I'm living in, and I love my friends. I love my family. I'm still living at home. I get along with all these people that I'm related to, and it's just great, and we're so close, and I love it. But it's almost more of an escape from my own brain, because my brain is chaotic, and there's so much happening in my brain, and it tends to get overwhelming, honestly, sometimes, just with the sheer amount of chaos that can build up in there. So yeah, stories are a great way to get it out of my head, or just to be distracted from the chaos in my head. So yeah, I love storytellers. I love movies and shows and books and music, and it's all wonderful, and I love it so much. And as a fellow I don't know what sort of person of the arts, whatever you want to call it. I dabble in all these things. I very much appreciate all the work that goes into it, and that is why it's not often that I come across a show or a movie or something that I just hate, because I can usually pinpoint something in there, a concept or a soundtrack or how a character or an interaction or something that I enjoyed, and that sometimes even made the movie or the show worth watching. I mean, I watched 3 seasons of Supergirl for a win, so if that's not proof that I can watch something for just one particular thing, I don't know what is. Like there are movies that I didn't necessarily like, but I still have like a song or an instrumental from the soundtrack saved into my playlist because I appreciate the song and I love the song. The movie may have been crap, but I still enjoyed that. I think the only show that I ever come across that I hate absolutely everything about and I have found no redeeming qualities was She-Hulk. There's a whole rant I had about that. I might link that down below because oh my goodness, it was something. But yeah, I have a great appreciation for storytellers and the work that goes into creating something that never existed before, or retelling something that is either so well known or just so well done, and putting it into going from books to shows or movies, telling it and presenting it in a way that you can share this great story that's been created with more people. I could rant. I could rant so long about just the gift that is storytelling and the people who create the stories, and it's a wonderful thing, and I will never not be putting love out there for people who create stories. So yeah, I still have to talk about season 3. Season 3. I watched it most recently, but yeah, the overarching plot was sort of John Henry Irons' nemesis, at least the John Henry Irons from Superman and Lois' Earth. And so they're sort of going through that, and there's this whole I love this. We have this whole dynamic because he's kind of a gang lord, just a little bit, and so he is in control of an entire portion of Metropolis. And he has a wife, he has a son, he has his family, and he's genuinely trying to do good and genuinely trying to help the people from his section of Metropolis, but he's also a criminal. And so we have this very two-sided character of him trying to do good and him being this family man and being honestly a very good father. And then also him being this criminal and not necessarily doing things according to the law because he feels the law has failed his portion of the city because it's kind of the slums. And so that his character was wonderful. I loved exploring his character and having it reveal more and more like this is his son. This character that we met is his son, this amazing guy, and this woman that we met who is this wonderful woman and who has been just an amazing friend to Lois as she goes through cancer, which is the main kind of the main focus of the entire season, is Lois going through cancer and them dealing with it and them trying to treat it and her being terrified of it, and which is another just wonderful thing that we get to see in the development of the characters and the sides of the characters and their reactions to everything and how they band together for it, and her yeah, just being, I can still do things. Don't baby me. Don't let this put a wedge in just our relationship. And just having how everyone is reacting to that is just a wonderful thing to see how the characters interact and how they stay true to these characters and true to how they would feel and how they would react and how they would do things. Again, the character work in this is incredible and I love it. But yeah, so we have this woman who becomes kind of her best friend in the cancer clinic where she's doing, which is run by this guy, Bruno Mannheim. And we find out later this is his wife and she's dealing with cancer too. And so having all of these little things that come up and show you why he's doing the things he's doing and make you understand his motives is wonderful. Is it fun to have a villain who's just evil for the sake of being evil sometimes? Yes. But a lot of times the more compelling villains are the ones where you understand where they're coming from. And some of the deeper villains are the ones where they're not necessarily trying to do anything bad. They're trying to do something that's right. They're trying to do something that's good. But they feel like they have to do it in a way that's illegal and that's wrong because the system or whatever has failed them. And so that was a very fun villain to have. And yeah, it was good. It was good. There's a reveal that Bruno Mannheim's wife was kind of a metahuman, and that was a little bit weird at the end. I feel like they didn't quite have a whole lot of foreshadowing for that. There was a little bit, but not. It still felt a little bit out of nowhere, but like, yeah, I don't know. That was the only part of the season, really the series in general, where I went, wait, what? But it was still good, and the way they ended it, and we have Bruno coming to terms with letting his wife go and realizing that he really can't save her. But yeah, it's a wonderful series. The relationships, the character work, absolutely wonderful. The plots were also very good. I love that it focused more on the characters and their interactions and them dealing with issues. It was very, very good. I enjoyed it. I have mixed feelings about whether season 4 comes out or not. I would not be mad if they ended it on season 3. If a 4th season comes out, though, I hope that they can do it well. If they bring in new characters, that they can develop the characters and have as much depth to these characters as the OG ones. And if they have a smaller budget, that they're still able to do what they need to do with that budget. But yeah. Those are my thoughts on Superman and Lois. Drop yours in the comments, along with any recommendations that you might have for future videos. As far as the second channel is going, I'm narrowing it down to which fanfic I start with. It seems like people are leaning towards the Star Wars one. So that should be coming soon. Again, keeping you posted on that, and I'll let you know. Until then, I'll see you all next time.